The life-changing story of Steve Jobs. The story of rising from darkness to light is something everyone loves to hear. And if that story is about a real-life legend, it becomes even more inspiring. Today, I will tell you about a man who started from nothing and revolutionized the world of technology, Steve Jobs. On February 24, 1955, a young woman in California gave birth to a child. Unfortunately, she was not in a position to raise her baby, so he was given up for adoption to a modest couple, Paul and Clara Jobs. They raised Steve Jobs as their own. From a young age, Steve was extremely curious and restless. He wasn't particularly interested in school studies, but he had an intense desire to learn new things. One day, his father showed him how to take apart an electronic device. And that was the moment his love for technology was born. But Steve was a rebellious student. He loved thinking outside the box. One day, a teacher asked him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Steve replied, "I want to create something that will change people's lives." However, his life was not easy. At the age of 17, he enrolled in college. But within a few months, he dropped out. He realized that what was being taught did not interest him at all. Although he left college, he never stopped learning. After dropping out, Steve Jobs faced harsh realities. He slept on the floor of his friend's room, collected and sold discarded Coke bottles to make some money, and even walked 7 miles every Sunday to a temple for a free meal. But inside him was an extraordinary determination, a unique belief that one day he would create something that would truly change the world. His vision started taking shape when he and his friend, Steve Wozniak, set up Apple in a small garage. They worked tirelessly day and night, but at that time, no one knew that this small company would one day revolutionize the history of technology. When Steve Jobs was forced to leave Apple, he was heartbroken. Leaving the company he had built with his own hands was no ordinary event. But he was never the kind of person to give up. Instead, he started planning something new. In 1985, he founded a new company called Next, Incorporated. It was a computer company aimed at developing high-end technology. Jobs wanted to create a computer that would be a revolutionary tool for research institutions and universities. At first, Next wasn't very successful. The computers were too expensive, making them inaccessible to general users. However, Jobs knew he was on the right track. Around this time, he made another major decision. He took over a small animation company called Pixar. Pixar was struggling at the time, working on digital animation. But no one knew that one day it would transform the entire film industry. Jobs invested in Pixar and put all his efforts into making it successful. Meanwhile, Apple was rapidly declining. After Jobs left, the company lost its direction. It launched one failed product after another, failing to capture customers' attention. Apple's stock prices dropped, and it was heading toward bankruptcy. On the other hand, Pixar released its first full-length computer-animated film, Toy Story, in 1995. It was a phenomenal success. Not only did it perform exceptionally well at the box office, but it also revolutionized the animation industry. Disney quickly realized that the future of animation lay in Pixar's hands. Seeing this success, Jobs became even more confident. He understood that the combination of the right technology and creativity was the key to success. But his mind was still on Apple. Finally, in 1996, Apple decided to bring back its former co-founder. They acquired Next, and with that, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. However, at first, he only worked as an advisor. When he saw how disastrous Apple's situation was, he made a tough decision. He wanted to completely revamp the company's product line. He realized that if Apple was to survive, he needed to innovate once again. And so began Apple's journey to rebirth. After returning to Apple, Steve Jobs wasted no time in making changes. He examined the company's existing product line and found that Apple had too many products, most of which were failing in the market. He made a bold decision. He cut down Apple's product lineup drastically. Instead of making multiple versions of computers, he focused on just a few, ensuring they were high quality and user-friendly. Then, in 1998, Apple launched the iMac. It was not just a computer, it was a revolution. Unlike traditional bulky computers, the iMac had a sleek, colorful design. It was easy to use and performed exceptionally well. The iMac became an instant hit, bringing Apple back to profitability. But Jobs didn't stop there. He knew that the future of technology was not just in computers. People needed portable devices that could change their daily lives. With this vision, he introduced the iPod in 2001. It was a simple yet powerful device that allowed users to carry thousands of songs in their pockets. The iPod redefined the music industry and made Apple a household name. However, the biggest revolution was yet to come. Jobs had a dream to create a phone that would be unlike anything the world had ever seen. Most mobile phones at the time had small screens and physical keypads. Jobs wanted to change that. He envisioned a device that was all screen, with no physical buttons, and one that could function as a phone, a music player, and a computer all in one. In 2007, he unveiled the iPhone. The world was stunned. The iPhone was unlike any phone ever made. It was sleek, intuitive, and powerful. It changed the smartphone industry forever, making Apple the most valuable company in the world. Steve Jobs' journey was not easy. He faced failure, rejection, and uncertainty, but he never gave up. His vision, determination, and creativity changed the world. Today, his legacy lives on in every Apple product, inspiring millions of people to think differently and never stop innovating. And that is the incredible story of how Steve Jobs changed the world with his vision.